Hey, good Sunday evening, fellas.
God, I love that opening, man. I love it.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Scuttlebutt Podcast. Before we get started, I want to thank our Patreon members. Just so you know, all your money goes to a nonprofit that sends veterans and first responders to sporting events. So if you're not a Patreon member yet, please sign up. We appreciate it. I'd like to thank our show sponsor, Proven Valor. Those guys are doing some amazing things over there, and they're all jarheads.
Thanks, Gunny. Thanks for starting.
Yes, so today we finally have a squid on the show.
Thank God.
Finally.
And a cool,
You're
hey,
welcome.
and a cool squid. I mean, you're cool, past commander. You are.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, this guy
Hey,
has, that's
bunch.
cool as shit, man.
Right here, buddy. So, Tom, just to let you know that Chaps always brings on freaking jarheads, and I
I do.
have to
I'm
sit
a
there
Marine,
for an
man.
hour,
Come
hour and a
on,
half
man.
and listen to these guys grunting and oorah, and it's like, dude,
Dude,
seriously.
and he just mutes himself and he just listens to us for like an hour. And it's cool.
Yeah, sometimes we
Except
our
when he
link.
brings on his chiefs, like then I do the same thing. I mute myself because I have no idea what Navy people like to talk about. I really don't. I don't.
We like to talk about getting drunk and chasing women in foreign
It,
ports.
in Mexico, a lot of times in Mexico.
Well, Philippines, Korea, yeah, you name it, man. We're not scared. We'll go anywhere.
Now, I actually have the utmost respect for the Navy. My dad was Navy, Lieutenant Commander, Woodby Island. So I love the Navy. Thank you guys for doing what you do. And
Yeah, and we have a big game coming up in a couple of weeks, and then
yeah,
you're actually on
December
our
10th.
side that day. Yeah.
Go Navy.
That's right. That's right. The most mediocre game in football.
No,
That's
hey,
great.
you hush your mouth, sir.
Yeah.
We got to beat those Army pukes, man.
The
Army Black Knights. I mean, come on, what is that? Seriously.
Navy just beat a ranked team yesterday.
And who was that?
Oh, really?
Was it South Florida or something?
USF, University of South Florida.
No, wait, UCF.
Oh, yeah, University of Central Florida.
Central Florida, yes.
Yes, and Dante Culpepper used to go there back in '96.
Well, they beat them yesterday.
I only
Really?
know that
Wow.
because I actually went to Dante's last game when he was at UCF, and I was at Rollins, and I was a little freshman. And I was like, holy shit, it's Dante Culpepper. Oh, my God.
So the crazy thing about that game is as soon as that game ends, all the seniors on both sides have to go on this extreme regiment to drop weight because they have to be at a certain weight to graduate. So they literally have like 3 months to drop like 80 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wish I could do that right now. God.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the reason for that? Why did they have to drop the weight?
Well, because the military has their weight requirements to
The
graduate.
taping, the height and weight standard. Remember that?
Weight standards.
Yeah, that makes
Hey,
sense.
Tom, how tall are you?
6 foot.
So you're 70 inches.
72.
72 inches. So
Yeah.
your max weight if you were a Marine would be 205 because that's how much I am. And I'm not 205 anymore.
Yeah.
I'm 239 as of this morning. So I'm going to be 200 by June, and I cannot wait.
Oh, yeah. Hey, speaking of 70 inches, Buffalo got 77 inches of snow this past weekend.
Glorious.
They had to move their football game to Detroit. A little fun fact for you.
Nice. Thank you, Nosebleeds.
Hey, right on.
I thought that was going somewhere else, but that's cool too.
No. He's actually he runs another podcast, which he did this morning while we were having coffee with a veteran. He had to duck out and do his Nosebleeds podcast, which is all about sports, and then he does this one to record our veteran stories. So Fleek is doing like a great thing for everybody.
Yeah, and the money that that these two podcasts generate, I started a nonprofit, and we're going to start sending veterans and first responders to like NFL games, NHL games, NBA games, stuff like that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's
yeah,
really cool.
that's that's all about that's like all starting up right now. So I have to do a couple of fundraisers, but I've already committed to send this one guy and his brother. He has a handicapped brother. I'm sending them to a Chicago Cubs home opener in the spring.
Oh wow, that's
Yeah.
super awesome. That's
Yeah, so
thank you for doing that. That's really cool.
yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, thank you.
And dude, by the next time, Costco, they sell Preds tickets for $159
They
for
do?
two. Oh yeah, I just saw
I,
it yesterday.
I didn't know that. I'll have to go over there and
Lower
scoop up
bowl,
a couple.
$159. You can't go wrong with that.
How do you do that at Costco? Do you have to do it online or something, or you go in there?
No, Katrina and I, we just went in there, and on one of the shelves, it's you take up the thing and you take it to the checkout, and
What?
you get two tickets. I swear to God.
I was just there today. If I would have saw that, I would have grabbed a couple of tickets for the nonprofit.
And well, hey, let me do that. I will do that in December when I get paid again.
Yeah, right on.
And by the way, I have to come to your house because this whole haze, it looks like I'm smoking weed or something.
Yeah.
And I'm in a haze of weed right now. And
Yeah, I swear every time I see you, it looks like you're in Cheech and Chong's van.
hey, I like Cheech and Chong. I just watched the Corsican Brothers yesterday. It was awesome.
So
But hey, let's get to the meat of things, man.
let's get
Tom,
in there,
you are
man.
the guest, and this is your show.
So Tom is a U.S. Navy. Is it SWCC? Is that how you pronounce it? Is that the acronym?
Yes, yeah, that's it.
So
yeah,
why don't you introduce
Basically,
yourself,
badass
everyone?
motherfucker. That's what it means.
Yeah, no, hey, thanks guys for having me on, man. I appreciate it. I need the ego boost. So
Hell yeah.
badass motherfucker. That's better than what I'm usually calling a daily basis. So
Right.
yeah, but yeah, no. So I've done my entire career as a SWCC or Special Warfare Combatant-Craft Crewman, which is like a very obscure and unknown. Like most people in the Navy don't even know what the job is. So whenever I tell people that, they're like, "Did you go to like Southwestern Community College? Is that what that is?" I'm like, no, it's it's an actual career, as a matter of fact. But yeah, I've done that I did that for 15 years, and then decided to get out 5 years shy of my retirement like a dum-dum. But here I am.
Hey, I was a dum-dum too. I'd be a sergeant major or a first sergeant right now if I stayed in.
Is SWCC something you go into your recruiter and say, "I want to be a SWCC," and you have to test, and so like you get a billet for that?
Yeah. So it's the same. Like, so like the Navy has, I think 5 special programs, and so SEAL being the obvious, most well-known one, and then within Naval Special Warfare, there's 2 different jobs. So you have SEAL and SWCC, and so both would require you to do a screening test, which is a 500-meter swim, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and a 1.5 mile run, all within like a small amount of time. And then if you get that, then your ASVAB scores are good enough that you can get a contract. And then so the other jobs like EOD, diver, and air rescue swimmer, but they all have like similar paths, at least to get your foot in the door. And then once you do that, they're vastly different programs. But
so is your training as intense as a SEAL?
It's different, I think that both communities would argue that, but it's different. It's different and it's similar in a lot of ways. I mean, there's certainly, things that people know about the SEAL pipeline that stand out, like Hell Week being one of them and stuff. I can't say never having gone through BUDS, but SWCC training is pretty difficult. We have a similar attrition rate going through, so about only 30% or so make it through the pipeline. And it's similar in the sense that we use a lot of facilities. So running on the same beaches, swimming in the same bay and ocean, using the same O course and stuff. But ours is tailored around boats, because that's the core of our job is, being a special boat operator. And then, but I think a part of it is we work so closely together using the same facilities because, we kind of integrate with each other quite a bit, both in training and operationally.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm just mesmerized by the whole Act of Valor. Oh, by the way, yeah, guys, if you're watching this cat right here was in Act of Valor. Okay, and that is a badass movie. If you haven't watched it, you have to. Tom, can you tell us about Act of Valor and your
Yeah.
role in that movie, sir?
Yes. Well, first off, I'll say if you blink, then you'd miss me in there. So like, I have a very small role in it.
No
but,
way.
but yeah. So when I was doing my first workup, we were coming to the end of our like 6 month, unit level training portion of the workup, and had what was called a readiness assessment, which is basically an overall evaluation of our ability to deploy, as a special boat detachment. And so we were going down to Key West for this, which I was, I think, 19 at the time. So I'm thinking like, this is badass. I've never been to Key West. It's like, oh, they really hook it up for these training exercises. But what I came to find out when we were preparing to go down there is that we were going to be filming this scene right after the readiness assessment was finished. That's why they selected that location. I mean, there's other reasons, but that was kind of the main gist of it. And so the way that the scene that I was part of worked is they had rented this luxury yacht that there were these terrorist financiers on, if I remember correctly.
Christos.
And then
his name is Christos. Yes.
Yeah,
I've watched
right.
it like 17 times, so I know the movie very well.
Yeah, and he's got like a bunch of hot supermodels on there and stuff. So it was a cool scene to film. So our job was, I was on a ribdet, which are like rigid hull inflatable boats, and we inserted a SEAL platoon onto the boat to do like a visit board search and seizure, take the boat over and capture and interrogate Christos. And so yeah, it was cool. It took like half a day. It wasn't a lot of filming or anything, but the filmmakers, the Bandito brothers, that's kind of their deal. So they had become popular because they filmed a SWCC recruiting commercial for the Navy that aired at the Super Bowl, I think, a few years prior to that. And so after that, they wanted to do a full-length feature using active duty SEALs and SWCC, and and then pepper in a few like actual actors. If you watch the movie, you'll see like I forget the actors' names, but one of the lead female characters was like in Rush Hour 2, and then there's a few other bigger or somewhat big actors in there. But the majority of the people.
The Latin girl, yeah,
Yeah.
she was the one the one they rescue in the beginning. She was in Rush Hour 2. Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
She's
so there's
hot.
A couple of those. Yeah, she's super hot.
Super hot.
Yeah, so there's a couple of those in there, but the majority of the people in the film are SEALs or active duty Navy, and then there's a handful of SWCC operators in there as well. So it was a cool experience. Like I said, it took like half a day, and then we did a wrap party on the yacht, and then coming out, went partying at Sloppy Joe's in Key West, and so
Nice.
it was a fun experience.
Thank you, Tom. That's cool.
That is awesome. What's the difference between you guys and like the river rats from like the Vietnam era? Is it basically the same thing?
Yeah. So that's kind of like our heritage. So if you like kind of whittle away, like or if you kind of go down the rabbit hole of where we originated, it goes back to the PT boats during World War II, and so and then kind of progress and evolve from there to the river rats or the combatant craft during Vietnam, and so then it kind of just progressed to a point where the becoming the primary insertion and extraction platform for SEALs and eventually other special operations branches. And so at one point it was kind of like just sourced from the Fleet Navy sailors who could meet the physical requirements and who wanted to do the job. Well, eventually they figured out that in order to maintain a certain standard, they needed to close loop it. And so then they created the warfare designator to go along with it, and then eventually created their own rates, and that is also the same for SEALs. So it used to be you'd be like a gunner's mate first class, and then in parentheses SEAL or SWCC, and then they created actual like ratings for it.
You know, the Marines, they used to have riverboat guys. I think the MOS was 1317. I could be wrong, but they got rid of it, but they used to have it way back in the day.
Yeah. And we still have like the Riverine squadrons and things like that. I'm not exactly sure what they've changed a lot in the last few years. Unfortunately, their main claim to fame in recent history was being captured by Iran, like, you know, a few years back. But they're still around, and they have like, you know, kind of, they also share that history, but they're more of a conventional force as far as, you know, what their mission set is.
Did you, before you joined the Navy, did you already know about the SWCC community?
So no, not really. So
you were already in the Navy when you were already in the Navy when you heard about it, and then you.
Oh no. So I'm like, it wasn't until I went to the recruiter's office that I became familiar with it. You know, I knew of, so when I decided to join the military, I didn't really know which branch. I just know I wanted to do something in special operations. And so I went to all, like, so we actually had a armed forces recruiting, you know, kind of like shop in a shopping mall in my hometown. And so they had all the different branches represented. And so I was going to go in there and talk to all the different recruiters. I did that, except for the Air Force, because like their office was always closed. They were never there. I guess they just.
It's the same here too. Their Air Force is always closed. They're never there. Here, take my card and give me a call. I mean, come on. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to do better, Air Force. You got to do better.
Well, I guess they didn't need to hunt for people in the same way the other branches did. I'm guessing that's the vibe I got, at least. I don't know if that's true. That's just the way I took it. But, you know, the Marines, the Army, and the Navy were always there. So I went and talked to the different ones. I talked to the Army about, you know, SF and Rangers. But at that time, you had to have been in the Army for, I think, 2 years, or at least a year, maybe. I can't remember the exact time frame before you could actually try out. So you had to go through, make it through, like, probably going to do infantry, right, in the Army if you're planning on doing SF or Rangers. And then you more than likely had to do a deployment with them, which at that time I think was like a year or so. And then there's still no guarantees that you actually get to go to selection and Q course. And so I think they've changed it since then, so you can actually go in contracted and go straight through the pipeline. I think you still have to go to infantry school, but you don't have to spend time as an infantryman. The Navy didn't do that, and I don't think the Marines did either. But, you know, when I went to the Navy recruiter, I knew of SEALs. That's the only thing I knew of. And so I was talking to them, and I think that maybe they were having a push for SWCC as far as a rate on the recruiting side. And so they told me about it, and I think that honestly, it was the intrigue of the fact it was the only soft community that I just didn't know anything about. And I was like, well, it's, you know, at least secretive enough. When I imagine like a career in something like special operations, I imagine it being secretive and clandestine. And so if a community can remain that, you know, guarded for so long, then there must be something to it. So it just intrigued me enough to actually take that first step.
Yeah, so I know when I was a fleet sailor, you had to do 4 years sea duty, and then you got 2 years of shore duty. Is that something similar for you guys also?
Yeah, you can. It really depends. You could spend your whole life doing sea duty if you want, but you do have the option to rotate. It's supposed to be 4-2. It usually doesn't end up working out that way, especially in your first pump. You know, because when you come in for either SEAL or SWCC, you have to do a 6-year contract straight off the bat, because they, you know, allot for so much time in training, and then you know, however much time at a team. But you could, you know, I did shore duty for a little bit while I was in. I actually cut mine short because I couldn't stand it. I needed to get back to deploying, but but you can for sure.
And you looked at the Marines and what, MARSOC, Recon, is that what you asked them?
Yeah, so I went in and talked to him, and I don't know if MARSOC was a thing. It was just getting started. I think
What
they
year was
had
this?
2008.
Yeah,
So
MARSOC was just because when we got back from Ramadi, they started taking our guys to start up MARSOC, and I know at
mhm.
least 3 of them that your brother knows. Wayne
Yeah,
Woods, Joe Baker, and a couple other guys. And they took them in 2006 after that Ramadi deployment, and then on the
okay.
Mew, we actually had the MARSOC guys with us. And those guys, they got a budget. They had fins. They had rebreathers.
So
They had 19
MARSOC is like similar to a SEAL, right?
Marine Special Operations Command.
Oh, I got you.
And
Yeah,
it's
so
probably not like a SEAL because SEALs
so
do a
they're
lot
like
more shit than MARSOC.
yes. So I think MARSOC, from having the benefit of being the newest, kid on the block, they actually got to take the best aspects of naval special warfare and the best aspect of Army special operations, because they're kind of like a hybrid, in a way, because Army special operations, like, especially special forces, the Green Berets, their primary job is unconventional warfare. And so, as opposed to on the NSW side, especially with the SEALs, is direct action missions and special reconnaissance. So, MARSOC kind of, like I said, being the newest people, or the newest special operations branch, they were able to actually, pick and choose the aspects they wanted and make themselves more marketable, which I think is really cool.
And they got Raiders too. But they didn't have that back then because
No, no.
Raiders was like from World War II, and then they stopped, and then they brought them back, right?
Yeah, so MARSOC is Raider. So like a
Oh,
Raider
MARSOC is
is
right.
a
Okay.
yeah. So a Raider is a MARSOC, Marine is a
Okay.
MARSOC operator. It's just, everybody's got to have their particular, special brand and their particular, piece of flair to show how cool they are. So it's
Piece of
everybody's got to
flair.
have it.
You said piece of flair. What did you just watch Waiting or something? Because
No, I just remember, like, so around the time that the MARSOC or the Raider badge came out, uh, the SWCC community was changing theirs, and someone was asking about it, and they're like, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of the new pin and stuff? And I'm like, I don't really give a shit about, pieces of flair. As long as I get to do the job, I just don't care. And so I think ever since then, if someone asks me about it, it's like I don't, I don't care about any of that stuff. As long as I get to do my job, and as long as I'm still enjoying it, you can put me in a tutu. I don't give a shit.
now you and your brother, who I served with, you guys were in at pretty much the same time, right?
Yeah, so he joined a little bit before. Actually, we signed our contracts at around the same time. But he, like, I had just graduated high school. Like, he actually left for boot camp the day after I graduated from high school, and he wanted to wait out and see me graduate, and then he left. And then I think he was just getting out of the Marines when I got back from my first deployment.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hey, Nick's a good guy. He was a good assaultman, 0351. I'm very honored to call him my friend, and I'm glad that I know you now too, because the
Yeah.
Wyatt brothers, put them together. Forget about it, man. You got SWCC guy and you got an 0351. That's bad news bears for anybody that comes down your pipeline. Ho, man, it's giving me shivers right now.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's had nothing but good things to say about you. So I mean, it's a pleasure to now be friends with you as well.
I did some of his MCIs. I don't know if he told you that, but in 2008, before I was getting out, I was the platoon. I was a shit. I did all the schooling because I got hit real bad in Ramadi, and so they gave me a desk job my last year, and I was platoon sergeant. No, not platoon sergeant. I was shit. I kept all the gear, and I taught all these guys. So I did most of their MCIs. Marine Corps Institute. It was different. I don't know. The Navy probably has them too. To to promote, you got to do all these classes and stuff, right?
I think it depends on like the community, but like, yeah, usually have like different qualifications that you have to get.
Yeah.
So, and for us, there's qualifications, there's things that like wickets and, or we call them milestones that you have to hit,
Yeah.
and then there's some courses usually that are kind of associated with that. But yeah, similar type thing.
Well, I probably got him promoted a couple times. So, and he's never thanked me. So, Nick, if you're out there, I am owed a thank you. Definitely.
I'll let him know. I'll hit him up
Please
as soon as we're done here. I'll shoot him a text and be like, "Hey, man,
no, we need to get.
super
Hey, we need to
ungrateful, you
get.
son
We
of a
need to get
bitch."
him on too, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I know.
I mean, he's
but,
got.
yeah,
So,
nailing him down though is difficult a lot these days. So,
So what are you doing now? I mean, you did 15 years as a SWCC guy. What did you get out as a chief or something?
first class. Yeah, I was a
First
dirty
class?
first class.
What-
Dirty
actually,
first.
what made you decide to get out? You're like the end of the rope is right there. You're just like, nah, I'm just gonna get
Yeah,
out.
why'd you get out?
I had like,
You were in love.
yeah, no, not that, not at all.
You got NJP.
no.
You punched out your commander.
No, nothing like that. No, I was
Ah.
getting to this point where like everything kind of built up for me in my last couple of deployments into like my career progression, and I was kind of exactly where I wanted to be, and I was also in place to make the next step in what I wanted to do in my career, like completely. And so I was like, was getting to this point where I was the pinnacle of my career, and I went on a deployment, and it left me wanting so badly. It didn't meet the expectation that I built in my head. And I think, there were some other things going on. My marriage was falling apart, and, all this stuff. And it just kind of like led to this, what felt like a midlife crisis at the time, but it ultimately led to a moment of clarity where I just didn't want to do it anymore. And I needed something different. I needed to change. And then on top of that, I kind of, I'd always miss my son when I would deploy. That was like the main thing that, that I missed when I left. Otherwise I could have just been gone all the time. I always wanted to deploy. I always wanted to work, and I worked myself into the ground constantly just because I loved what I was doing. But then I kind of came to this moment where I realized that all these sacrifices that I've been making, especially with my son Jack, that it just wasn't worth it anymore, and I couldn't make excuses for being gone like I was, and so it just kind of disillusioned me a lot, and then I just kind of fell out of love with what I was doing. And I'm very much the type of person that I have to absolutely love what I'm doing, or I'm just going to turn into a shitbag. So I think it was best for me and best for the Navy that I decided to leave. So, yeah.
How many deployments did you have?
5 or 6. I think.
And
five. Yeah.
And where were
shit.
they?
Can you talk about it?
Yeah. Well, for the most part, some of them
Okay.
I can tell you where I went, for sure. None of them are that secretive. Yeah, my first deployment was to the Philippines. And then I did that was cool. I was in a ribdet. And so if you see like the combatant crafts, like the SWCC boats now, they look a lot different. Back then they looked like your average fleet rib, with the sponson around it, like the kind of like inflatable thing to, especially when you're going up to the side of the boat, how it helps you stabilize and not like fracture the boat. But those they looked exactly the same as the rest of the boats, but now you see it all like stealthed out. They're really cool to see. But so did that first deployment in a ribdet, and then after that I was on another boat called the Sea Lion, and I did a few deployments out to Bahrain. And so Bahrain was a staging point. We were just kind of like in the Gulf doing stuff out there. And then after that I did shore duty for a little bit which I was at this command called the SEAL-SWCC Scout Team, and it was quasi recruiting, public affairs type thing. And then I spent my last, bit of time at a special reconnaissance team, and I did 2 deployments there. One to Guam, but I was like all over Southeast Asia, and my last deployment was to Thailand.
Started in the Philippines and ended in Thailand. Not bad.
No Iraq, no Afghanistan, nothing like that.
No. I kind of missed the big wave of. We didn't send a lot of people to Afghanistan. There was some that were like in a mobility role, and we kind of tried to, corner that market. But there was a big wave of riverine boats that we have that went to Iraq. Back when Iraq went off around 2006 and stuff.
Dude, I saw some on the Euphrates River. They were, I mean, they had huge engines, but they were like wicked quiet. I only went on one boat once, and I thought that was the coolest shit I've ever been on.
Yeah,
I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, they're really cool boats, and they're like, I mean, the amount of gunpowder that they bring to a fight is super impressive. And so those guys are.
What do you got on those boats, if you don't mind talking about that?
So they have, they usually have like I think twin 50s, 240s, and a gal. And
sorry,
so,
I'm just getting so excited. That's
they're really cool. I've actually never even been on one because the boat team in Mississippi, Stennis, Mississippi, they're the riverine boat team. So, but at the time when Iraq was like hot and heavy, they were kind of allocating guys from the other boat teams to plus up the riverine task units that were deploying. But unfortunately, by the time I got to the boat team, that wave had died. The war had moved elsewhere. It wasn't, big along the Euphrates. And so, and then the missions that they did have there typically didn't involve so much soft. So I think that they started to employ the riverine units from the Fleet Navy more. And so that kind of pushed us more back into more traditional soft roles, which is foreign internal defense, so training foreign militaries, integrating with them, building partner force, and all that type of non-sexy stuff that no operator wants to do. So, yeah.
What's the range on these boats? Like, how far out can you go?
It depends, because so we have like a myriad of different boats, but like it just depends on the type. I couldn't tell you. I've been removed from the boat teams for so long because I did shore duty and then went to special reconnaissance team. But yeah, it just depends. There's different craft that kind of fill different gaps as far as operationally. So the mid-tier boat can usually go a lot further than the smaller ones. They're usually the ones that are going to do a quick insert and, like I said, your visit board search and seizure type missions. And then, you get in the larger scale ones, then it's going to get more into reconnaissance based or different operations like that, maybe a QRF.
When you travel, do you guys travel by air, or does another Navy ship drop you guys off somewhere?
So kind of like when we go like on deployment, you fly in, load up the boats onto a on like a C-17 or something, and fly into country. But we've had definitely times where we'll use like an amphibious assault ship and use their well decks to kind of give us a longer range. And also if we're doing like multiple missions in the same area, but it's like in the middle of the Gulf or some other region, it gives you a launch point that is a lot better. And so, and then, we can also use other types of craft. It doesn't have to be a Navy ship, but that's usually how you'd like forward deploy one of those units or one of those detachments rather.
Are you a shellback?
I'm none of those things. You guys,
we got us a WOG. We can start the hazing now.
Yeah, you guys have way more of that, Navy street cred than I do. I never did any of that stuff. I didn't do shit as far as when it comes to like all the shenanigans that the Navy gets into when you travel the world, which I think is really cool. Like I've gotten to fly into places and get to experience that, but having the long-term adventure of actually being at the sea, it sucks for sure. I'm certain.
It
but
did.
There's
At
kind of
7
a
months on
cool
the USS
novelty about
Kearsarge
it.
with Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I got to see
that's
his ass
right.
we got shellback together every single day. I got to see him every day.
Yeah. Yeah. He was telling me about it. I was like, nah, I'm good, man. I'm happy with what I'm doing. I just get to fly places and be there. I
Did
don't have
he
to spend months at sea about it or in
did
order
he
to
tell
do
you
it.
about Dubai, Malta, like all the places we went, like all the trouble we caused our
Oh yeah.
battalion commander?
Oh yeah. I remember him telling me about Malta because I think
Yep.
because we were
God,
talking.
he did. Holy shit.
Yeah. So it's funny because so my ex-wife was Turkish, and so we're talking about, he's like, yeah, I never got to go to Turkey even though our ship went there, because in Malta he almost missed ship movement because he was like hanging out with some chick he met out in town and stuff.
Dang. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
late getting on ship. I was in Rota, Spain, and we went to this whorehouse, me and the sergeant. And
It isn't so.
no, I was married at the time. I just stayed at the bar and got drunk.
Sure.
I went to his room like 3 times. I was like, Sergeant, we gotta go. We gotta go now. And the last time I kicked in the door and he had 2 girls and he was doing a pyramid. And I'm like, I was like, Sergeant Hasnute, we have to go now. And that cab driver did like 95 miles an hour back to the ship, and we were 3 minutes late, and I almost lost my corporal stripes, and I buddy fucked the shit out of Sergeant. I was like, it was his fault, and I did.
Blue
And I'm very proud to say that I buddy fucked the shit out of him.
Hey man, he was the one. That's cool. He was the one who was having all the fun there anyway. So
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Damn.
I mean, if you're gonna get in trouble, Rota Spain's kind of the place to do it.
Dude,
It's
you
a
got to
fun
go big,
spot.
and we went outside of the perimeter. I mean, way
Mhm.
outside the perimeter. We were not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's awesome. That's funny.
Sorry, I've got funny stories of Nick and I. We
Oh
actually
no.
no. I don't have any really funny stories with Nick. I just thought we never really hung out because he was an assaultman and he was in a different platoon. I was in second. I think he was in. Was he in first or was he in third platoon? Shit, I can't remember. But I never got to see him that much. But I mean, assaultman, he had a cool job. Tom, you had a cool job, and you Wyatt, you knew how to pick the cool ass jobs. I mean, I was a machine gunner. I was doing this. I never rode in vehicles. I did this the whole time. It sucked. I hated it.
Yeah.
You got to be in boats and shoot the gow, and damn, lucky son of a bitch.
Man, it was a good career. It was good. I mean, I definitely have no well, I shouldn't say that. I've got complaints, but I've got, especially in hindsight, I have less complaints, I should say. And I'm definitely happy with the career I chose and, the path I led. But I'm also happy to be, on the other side of things now.
Yeah. Very important question. When you were the SWCC guys, do they keep their hair long and can they have beards and shit like that? Like no regs because you're SF?
You have usually like relaxed hair standards than the rest of the Navy, but
Surfer
beards
hair. Got it.
Typically not. Yeah, surfer hair. Beards typically not unless you've got a reason to. I think that there was a point in time where it was more of a thing, and then I think people just kind of abuse the shit out of things like that, and so they're like
shaved chits.
you can
Definitely they did.
Yeah, you can always tell when something bad has happened or like someone's gotten in trouble, because you start seeing people in uniforms that you never see in uniform. You start seeing people with like haircuts when they usually you couldn't even tell they were in the military because their their hair being so long. I was like, oh, someone fucked up, and now we're all gonna be back. No more big boy rules or anything. And so
Libo is canked. No libo for you guys anymore.
That's right. So it's just it's hair for sure. Beards not so much. That's why I'm enjoying this now, mostly because went bald too, so like I don't have the
Oh, you
option
too?
of long hair anymore. Yeah, yeah,
I just
yeah.
shaved this morning. Ah, look at that. I just shaved this morning for church.
Yeah, yeah.
So Tom, what are you doing now? What's your drive? What's your passion? Like what is that you're loving to do that keeps you going? What are you doing?
Yeah, so the main thing that, my main reason for being in life is my son. Like I spend as much time as I can, knowing that I can't reclaim any of that lost time, but, trying to make up for it as much as I can possible. And so I've really enjoyed this time where I haven't been constantly on the road, constantly, deployed or whatever, spending time with him and getting invested in his life. Doing things that I never thought I would do. I've always been the kind of the type of guy that revolted away from being domesticated. So, never thought I was gonna get married. Well, got married. Never thought I was gonna have kids in the first place. I love my son more than anything, but I never thought I was like, didn't want to move to the suburbs and be a soccer dad and stuff like that. But now I'm the assistant coach for my son's soccer team and stuff. And I don't know shit about soccer, but I love it. I love it so much. And so that's number one. That's the main thing.
Do you have a grinder out there where you mash shit out of the kids?
It's hard.
Jesus,
it's hard to fucking to kind of curb that mindset sometimes, because as soon as I started, I was like, I don't know anything about soccer. Like the only thing I really know about is like team building and things like that. So I was like, I can whip these kids into like a really cohesive team. And I'm like, it's like, yeah, but they're also 9. So I need to be like, let them enjoy the sport and not like suck the fun out of it, So it's an interesting balance I have to try to find myself in. It's like get your shit together, but have a time, guys. Just have fun. So, but yeah. So other than that, my main passion is writing. Like I love writing. I've always loved storytelling and writing. I always just did it for myself. It's always kind of I'd write poetry and little short stories and stuff, but I never showed them to anybody because it was just my form of expression. And,
well, you should show to people because that gets babes.
Yeah,
you write poetry, man. You get the ladies.
Yeah, not if you read my
don't
poetry.
Get him
you
in trouble.
Please,
don't get him in trouble. Come on.
Yeah, no, it's not. I don't know if it's gonna impress anybody, but I did it nonetheless. Like I just enjoyed it. I like writing. So I never thought I'd do it as a career. And then as I kind of came to this crisis of conscience with what I was going to do with the rest of my life, it was actually a conversation with my girlfriend, and she's like, "What do you love? If you could do anything and money was no object, what would you do?" I was like, I don't know, I guess I'd write. And so I decided to try to figure out a way of making a career out of it. And so now I'm interning with Coffee or Die magazine, which is Black Rifle's news publication. And I've been writing for them for the past few months.
How do we find your work?
So coffeeordie.com. And then if you go, I'm sure there's like a hyperlink you could type in, but if you go to coffeeordie.com and just type in Tom Wyatt, you should be able to get a link directly to all the stories I've written there. And so I think I've written some in the ballpark of 15 stories so far for them, which has been great because I didn't know what to expect out of the internship. I was like, I've never done an internship. I was like, I could be making coffee for people, which, the irony not being lost on me. And then, or it could just be, researching or whatever, which, I do some of that stuff too, which is good. Just gives me more of an understanding of the scope of responsibility and job, that it takes to be in journalism. But I've had the benefit of being able to write, a bunch of stories since I've been there. It's been great.
Sorry, I'm looking up this Coffee or Die right now. Disconnect.
We've been doing this for a little over a year, and we've had a lot of writers on the show.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We had a guy that wrote a book 2 weeks ago. We had a
Douglas.
guy that he's a children's book author. We had a
Oh,
guy
that's awesome.
out of Chattanooga. He writes for like Popular Mechanics, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, that guy was super
really
fascinating.
Verdict.
Yeah.
Oh, you wrote about the Bonhomme Richard.
Yeah, so actually I
fire?
went and I covered the trial. So
Yeah.
because the trial took place here in San Diego, and it's actually interesting. It was a funny story because so the Coffee or Die, like, it's a completely remote news publication. So I talked to my editor just via messaging app and stuff. And so it was Monday morning. I was just getting my workstation set up, and I hit him up to see if he had a story he wanted me to pursue. And I saw on Twitter that the trial was beginning in San Diego. I was like, hey, do you want me to cover this? And I didn't hear anything initially because he's all the way in North Carolina, and so sometimes comms disaggregated, and so I just was like, well, fuck it, I'll just go check it out. Let me see if they'll even let me in the courtroom. So I drove over there, and they let me in. So by the time my editor got back to me, he's like, hell yeah, I'll do it. I was like, well, I'm already in here. So I got to sit and cover the trial for 2 weeks, which was a great experience for me because I have no background in journalism, and so really getting to rub elbows with guys from the New York Times and the San Diego Union Tribune and stuff, and ProPublica and all these awesome news publications was a big deal for me. But also just being able to have a front row ticket to the trial, which I remember when the fire happened, I was riding my bike down the Silver Strand, and it looked like someone had torpedoed the damn ship. So it was a really cool experience.
So you're in San Diego right now?
Yeah.
I thought you were on the East Coast.
Yeah, I did too. That was my bad. I thought you were in
No,
Virginia or North Carolina. Sorry, my bad.
Oh no, it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So they didn't end up charging that guy, right? I think he got off, didn't he?
Yeah. So it was interesting to see, because I knew just a little bit about the story and what had happened before, but there was like practically no evidence of anything like to point in any direction, and it was all very anecdotal as far as the evidence and circumstantial evidence that they had against him. And so you could definitely feel like kind of the weight of the Navy needing
a scapegoat.
Yeah, I was trying to look for a better term than that, but like kind of a scapegoat. At least something other than their negligence to be highlighted when this investigation was being pursued, and to show that it wasn't just negligence that caused this fire. And so they needed something to hang their hat on with it. And so it was, unfortunately, this kid who at the time he was arrested was 19 years old. And so when the trial, he was 21 in the trial. And so, his life is like, he was facing a life sentence. I don't know what the arson charge actually carried, but the charge of willfully hazarding a vessel carries a life sentence. So he was facing life, and but there's like no evidence. And so fortunately for him, the judge made, what I feel is the right call, not to suggest that he's innocent of the charges, but based on the evidence, there's just only one way to decide. And so the court or the judge did decide that he was not guilty.
Yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
I was reading a little bit about that. I was like, man, they literally try to rail this kid just to make themselves look good, or not to look bad anyways. Like, I don't know, you have this.
Well, just at least take some of the pressure off of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Hey,
I wonder what happened to that kid. Is he still in the Navy, or did he just like, hell with this, I'm out? I see how you guys treat your sailors.
I really hope he's not. I remember that, like, so the family and and the defendant, they didn't answer any questions. They gave us a brief statement after the verdict was read, but asked, for no questions. And but one of the questions that did slip through the crowd was, is he gonna stay in the Navy? What's his next step? And they didn't say anything, but I would venture to say that that he's going to get out, because you're not going to have any semblance of normalcy in the Navy.
No.
There's no way you can go anywhere without your name not being synonymous with this arson. So
the day I had my DD-214 in my hand is the day that I go to the biggest lawyer in the country and sue the shit out of the United States Navy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, he can't. That's the problem, is that he's not. There's no redeeming himself in that regard. There's no way to get that time back. There's no way to do anything about it. So you just gotta kind of move forward and make the best. I mean, fortunately, I think outside of military circles and people that are in the Navy now, no one really is gonna know anything about the case other than maybe the fact that a ship was, set on fire, or that it caught fire, because who knows if it was actually set or not intentionally. So he can actually have a normal life outside of it. So I hope that's the decision he made. If he didn't, then he's he's dumber than I think he is.
He's in for a ride. Hey, how's that VFW article coming, sir?
It's coming, man. It's
okay,
I sent it. I sent a version of it to my editor. But then unfortunately I got caught up with an article that was like more time dependent, that I'm hopefully will be published here soon, but it's about Vet TV, and they were having
and Donnie O'Malley.
Yeah.
Our buddy Donnie.
Yeah. So it's actually funny.
It was, how you doing, buddy? And Jamie Goldstein, he's a VFW member of ours, and Jamie is he's I don't know, he works for Coffee or Die too, right?
Jamie, I don't know. If he does, then I'm not familiar with him, but I think, I mean, it's my company, so I don't know if I'd get in trouble for it, but he actually, I think he left Vet TV.
Who, Jamie?
Yeah, I believe so.
But he was part of IW, and then he went to Vet TV, and I haven't heard from him for like a year. So until
really?
The last time I saw him or heard of him was when I was putting him into our VFW, and then
really?
I haven't heard from him. So yeah, he's still on the roster, and he's got a San Diego address.
Yeah, so he was so the Vet TV article that I wrote, not a reason that it was like time dependent, is because I had to go to they had a screening at the American Legion post in Hollywood, and which is a really cool American Legion. They have an amazing theater and a really cool like speakeasy style bar. It's really cool. And so after that, I went and was on set with their show Non-Commissioned News, which Jamie was hosting at the time, but he had just left, and so the guys at Vet TV were kind of like the week before that he had left, and they scrambled to find someone to kind of fill his spot, because they were going to be filming over a few days that week, and so they found a replacement. But yeah, so I'm pretty sure he left Vet TV. I think he's just trying to, I don't know what his job or his career ambitions are, but I think he's trying to make it in acting and probably go to, more mainstream Hollywood stuff.
He wrote an article about me.
Oh, did he?
Oh, yeah. Oh, he did. And he called me the national chaplain, and I had to correct him. I was like, dude, I am not the national chaplain. I am the Tennessee state chaplain. And like when my bosses up in VFW National saw that, they're like, what the fuck? What the fuck, Andrew? I'm like, whoa, I haven't even seen the article, man. I don't even know what's going on.
That's always how it goes. Like I wrote an article about Marine recruiting, and
I just passed by in San Mateo Valley or San Fernandez or something. Yeah, I just passed by that article.
Just around LA. Yeah, it's a, in my humble opinion, it's a good article. I really, that was my favorite.
It's good.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones that I've written so far. It was cool to, spend the day with those guys, but after the story was published, I got like a whole bunch of texts from the recruiter that I was that I, had followed around for the day and wrote about. He's like, yeah, my command was asking if you could change this, if you could take this out. So it wasn't anything factually inaccurate. It was just, it was a lot of, you know how it is, everything's got to be framed the exact way
and PC,
that
yeah,
they want it
no,
to.
I totally get it, because I was on the phone with Jamie for like 20 minutes. I was like, dude, seriously, you got a lot of stuff wrong, and some of the stuff I didn't even say. Like, I'm sorry, Jamie, no offense, but I didn't even say that shit at all.
Yeah.
Like he said, like the article said, old Vietnam guys, and I'm like, one, I would never in my life say old Vietnam guys ever.
Right.
I would never say that. I would say Vietnam veterans, and it's just like I got a little shit for that. They were actually calling the parliamentarian of the VFW to talk about me, like being ousted from being state chaplain, being national recruiter. I was like,
Yeah.
are you kidding me? And Brian Walker, who was my state commander, he's like, dude, I got you. And he made it, he made it good for me. Like it was blanketed over. So
Yeah,
that's good.
I just looked up Coffee or Die and ran your name, and I just came across this Bonnie Dick article, and I didn't realize this kid was only a seaman recruit.
Yeah.
Yut!
So he was.
Boot. Boot.
Yeah. Hey, welcome back. That's highly unfortunate. We had some technical difficulties, and I lost our guest, Tom, and Combat Chaps. So I figured I'd just come in here and explain a little bit instead of just having the video cut off. But thanks for listening in. We really appreciate all your support, and we are only human, so sometimes we have technical difficulties. But again, I'd like to sign off here for tonight. Have a blessed Thanksgiving. Enjoy with your family, and we'll see you next Sunday. And again, thank you to our Patreon members and our show sponsor, Proven Valor, and our guest tonight, Tom, for sharing his story with us. Thank you, and have a good evening. See you next Sunday.